Alright guys, so this is the third or fourth time I've tried to make this video. It just keeps not working, so I'm going to try it one more time. I came across this video a few days ago. It was originally published on the 13th. I think I saw it on the 16th or 14th. They get a lot wrong. They get a horribly lot wrong when it comes to Star Citizen. Their basic information is just wrong. They even get called out in the comments section here, but we'll get to that in a sec. We're going to go through and we're going to take a look at this video. It goes for half an hour, so this is probably going to be long form content, guys. The first time I did this video, it went for 2 hours. I'm trying to get less than that, but it is going to be a long video. So grab a Coke, Coca-Cola that is, grab some pizza, and let's sit back and let's just watch this shit show and correct the record as we like to do. So let's just jump straight into it.
And welcome to Bad Ideas, the show where we look at misfires, mistakes, and miscalculations from all throughout.
It's funny because this whole show was a misfire, misstep, and a miscalculation. But anyway.
Throughout history.
I'm Tony Southcott.
And I'm Albert Berg, and today's episode is brought to you by our featured patron this week, the Comic Noob Show.
Hey, Comic Noobs, thank you very much. Some old friends from our patron.
Yes. Tony has the bad idea for this week. Tony, what are we talking about?
We are going to be talking about the video game Star Citizen. And this was suggested by Joe, who is the boss over here at Human Echoes. And it's one of those things where there's a slight chance this won't become a bad idea. So we might be jumping the gun a little bit, but we're going to detail why I think that this is a bad idea now.
It's ongoing. It's currently bad for people who want to do the Star Citizen thing.
Oh, okay. It's currently bad. Well, I'm glad you've played it, right? Because that would mean that you would actually know what the game is like, and you just haven't read some Forbes article, which is later what we find out that they're actually referencing. It's not like you're a shoddy journalist who's just sat there and just read other people's research and never actually gone through and tested something yourself, especially something as simple as a computer game. Star Citizen has free fly weekends where you can literally jump into the game free of charge and play for free for about a week. The last time we did that was in 3.5. So, it was like, what, 3 months ago? So, presumably, you've done that to a certain point, or even just swung the $45 so that you could go and try it, or borrowed a friend's account who has an account and got him to go through and to give him your access, or give you his access, and you've tried it on his account. You know, there's a myriad of different ways that you could even get involved and test this project without actually outlying a single dime. And I'm glad that you've gone through and done that, because otherwise this would be really, really embarrassing if you got everything wrong. Spoiler alert.
We'll say right up front that I don't own this game. I don't have any stock in this game, but I have been aware of the unfolding of this bad idea peripherally. So much so that I kind of assumed it had passed. That either it definitely hadn't come out and was just dead, or it definitely had come out and I just hadn't heard about it because it was a dud.
So, let me just reiterate that. I personally don't have any stock in this game. I've never played it. So how do you know what the game is like? Short of, reading a Forbes article, and I believe the other guy, this Tony guy, had played it. But even then, he admits that he had only played it for a very limited time. A very, very limited time, actually, to be honest. So, with a game that's as vast as a scope as Star Citizen, how do you manage to only play this game for a very short period of time? And expect to do somewhat of a decent job when it comes to reporting on it? Yeah, welcome to 2019 games journalism.
Now, this thing is still very much supposedly, quote-unquote, in development. They, just 2 weeks ago, put out a new $3,000 ship that you can buy.
Did they? A few weeks ago, they put out a $3,000 ship that you could buy. Now, this was on the 16th of September, I believe. 13th of September. So 2 or 3 weeks ago would have been the start of September. The only ship that I know that's been up for sale lately is the Nautilus and the 890 Jump. The 890 Jump was $890 or $950 if you use War Bond credits, which is, sorry, not War Bond credits, CCU credits, which is other ships that you've melted. So, for example, say you go through and you have 4 ships and they're all worth $300. You can melt those 4 ships, have that account with that $1,200 sitting in it as like a credit, and then you can use those credits to go and buy other ships. So you can constantly rotate between ships and upgrades and stuff like that. Now also, full credit, you don't need to actually spend real world money to buy these ships. Most of these ships are available in-game at the moment, and have been for quite some time now. So, yeah. But getting back to your original point, 2 or 3 weeks ago, $3,000 ship. No, the only ship that I know that is actually to about $3,000 was the Javelin that went up for sale. That, I believe it was $2,500 at the time it went up, or might have been $3,000 at the second lot of sales, but we'll get to that later. We'll actually talk about all this later in depth. But I don't think the Javelin has been on sale for at least 12 months. And even when the Javelin goes on sale, it normally sells out within seconds. And I think the Javelin was last on sale 18 months, 2 years ago. Someone let me know in the comment section below. I think the last time the Javelin was up for sale was actually closer to 2018 or 2017. So, definitely not the past 3 weeks. And the only ship that I know that's in that situation was the Javelin, and has not been up for sale for quite some time. So, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Your information is shonky, and you gone and fucked up, boy.
But the game is still not done. You can buy... I want to let you start, Tony, but you just said for a game that you can't really play, you can spend $3,000 to own a thing that does not exist.
The game does exist. You can actually play the game. The ship actually exists in-game. And I do find it funny that people rail on Star Citizen for doing this, but they don't comment on World of Tanks, which has a $5,000 ship, $5,000 tank from what I understand. But regardless, hey, I suppose World of Tanks doesn't have the press coverage that Star Citizen has, right? You just don't get those views when you go criticizing World of Tanks compared to Star Citizen. So you only talk about one and not the other, right? That's how it works. But look, at the end of the day, as for this is the problem with basing your assumptions on other people's work, right? This Owl guy, for example, is basing his assumption on the game on the fact that Tony said that the ships were available for $3,000 up until a few weeks ago, and Tony is probably basing that information on something that he read from someone else who probably also didn't play the game. You see why you need to actually play the game for a decent amount of time before you start railing on it, because otherwise you just get called out in the comments. Like, for example, down here. But we'll get to that at the end of the video, don't worry.
Yes, exactly. Star Citizen is the largest crowdfunding endeavor for a game ever taken on.
That's true.
It's a dream that started in 2012 when Kickstarters were just starting to be a major way for companies to quickly raise cash. The game itself was promised to be one of the deepest space sims of all time, and would include elements from MMORPGs such as World of Warcraft, its multi-massive online role-playing games, single-player campaigns, battle arenas, racing games, and so much more. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be released in 2014, and the game is currently not out of its very early alpha testing after raising nearly $300 million.
Now, just on that, so let's talk about the release date. Back in 2013, 2014, somewhere between that, they went through and they realized that they had all this money, that Star Citizen had crowdfunded all this money. A lot more than that they requested, right? So Chris Roberts went through and actually ran a poll on, I think it was on Spectrum at the time, who turned around and simply said to people, do you want us to give you the version of Star Citizen that we originally pitched? Or do you want us to go nuts and make the best goddamn space sim ever and just feature creep explode? And I think it was 86% of the community actually turned around and voted yes to expanding the scope of the game. So when they turn around and say Star Citizen was supposed to come out in 2014, that is slightly misleading, because Star Citizen as we know it was not the original pitched idea. The Star Citizen that was originally pitched, I don't know if it would have came out in 2014, but it probably wouldn't have been far behind that. The original pitch of Star Citizen was very much like Rebel Galaxy Outlaws. I'm trying to think of that game name. Where a lot of stuff is on rails. And I'm not knocking that game, alright? I'm not knocking it at all. But, for example, when you go into landing, it takes you in on autopilot, right? There's no land anywhere on any procedurally planet, on any procedural generated planet like Star Citizen does. For example, I can jump in Star Citizen right now. I can fly to Yella. I can literally get a dart, throw it at a dartboard at a map of Yella and land there. Right? You land anywhere you want. Whether it be a good landing spot or a bad landing spot. You can land there. You can land on the side of a cliff if you like. If you can manage to do it, you can do it. And that's the game that we have now. Vastly different than what was originally pitched in 2012. And that is why the game has expanded. These features that we've put in, procedural generated planets, procedural generated cities, landing zones all over the planets, all this, yes, it has gone through and it has caused a delay in the release of the product, but that is vastly different than what was originally requested or originally pitched, because the community wanted it. But anyway.
Yowza. So you can kind of play it now.
Yes, you can go.
No, you can play it now. People do it on Twitch for 6 or 8 hours a day, every day.
In there and you can do sort of like a first-person shooter type thing. You can do a separate game which is like racing, so you can actually test out some of the starships that you bought. There's a few game modes that are out there.
Okay.
But we're going to get into how much smaller this is compared to what's been promised. The game, which honestly is stunningly pretty in developer videos and demos, was supposed to be everything a sci-fi nerd could dream of. It was supposed to have a player-driven economy, a gray market where...
No, it wasn't. There was no player-driven economy ever pitched. In fact, Chris Roberts actually said he wanted the opposite of that. He wanted an AI-based economy. The reason why is because he saw the downfall of the player-based economy when it came to EVE Online. Now, I'm not saying that the player-based economy is a bad thing or a good thing. There are good sides, there are bad sides to every system. But the fact is that the player-based economy can really hamper beginning pilots because of the fact that people can force prices through the roof by withholding stock or by flooding the market, whatever it may be. Chris Roberts didn't want that. He wanted an AI-based system where the prices will fluctuate to a certain percentage, but the overall price will be in a rough ballpark figure. So that player-based system was never a part of the original pitch.
Where discoveries in far-off systems could be worth real-life money.
The grey market that he is talking about there actually does exist. And I can actually bring that up for you guys. Yeah. So here is someone at the moment who is selling a Bennett Merchantman on the grey market. This is on Reddit. You got Star Citizen trades up there, and you have the prices, right? Merchantman, $295. Now, if I wanted to buy that Merchantman, for example, I would just hit him up in the comments and I'd say, hey, I want to DM you. We would arrange a trade. I would send him $295 through PayPal, and then he would then gift the ship to me. To give you an idea of the Bennett Merchant Man, I had the tab open, but I lost it. Let me go through. And you... Oops, sorry. That's not how you spell it, but... hang on. Leave me alone, it's early. Right, brand new Merchantman, here it is here. Now, the pledge cost here says $350, right? Well, that's the old price. Here is the price here for $250 LTI when it came out in 2013. The person that is selling it here for $295, chances are brought it back here when it was worth $250. And chances are he probably even got it cheaper than that, because if you subscribe, you get 10% discount on your ships and blah, 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 blah. So he's probably even got it cheaper less than that. And here he is selling it for $295. He's going to make about $45 profit per ship for this ship, sorry. And there are other ships where you can make more profit. So there is actually a grey economy that actually does exist. So you're wrong on that too.
Deep combat system where up to 80 people could be taking up stations on a single ship. A single ship that...
So we don't have the up to 80 players at the moment. The server cap is 50. But to give you an idea, here is a video of Rexilla. By the way, guys, link in the description below for his Twitch and for his YouTube. I hope Rex doesn't mind me using this. But here is Rexilla playing Star Citizen, where he has over 50 people, or 50 people in a server, all on the same ship.
Thank you, sir.
Where are you buying shit? I'm looking.
I'm going to
Why can't we do this again? Because they seemingly can do it right here. And as soon as server meshing goes in and server object container streaming,
Stop scaring everybody.
that server cap will most likely rise. If we get server meshing for dynamic server meshing in, we could have thousands of people in a server. It really does. There's no limit. There really is not much of a limit at all. So yeah, sorry, but that's also in the game as well.
It would cost you $1,500 to $3,000 to have in this game.
What? Hang on, start again.
$1,500 to $3,000 combat system where up to 80 people could be taking up stations on a single ship. A single ship that would cost you $1,500 to $3,000 to have in this game.
Okay, so I presume he's actually talking about the Javelin or the Idris ship there. He's actually talking about the warships. He's talking about the battleships, the huge battleships, the capital ships. To give you an idea, that ship that I was just showing you, the 890 Jump here. Let me see if I can see a photo of it from the outside. Doesn't look like I can see a photo from the outside. But this ship here is over 215 meters in game. And the Javelin is bigger than that. The Javelin size is 480 meters. Literally almost, it actually is double the size. And that's for the Javelin. This is for this thing here. Waiting for the image to clean up. There you go. That's the Javelin. There it is there. Why can't you have people on the ship going through and manning the turrets and stuff like that again? I'm at a loss, because we actually do it. We have a smaller ship that is called the Hammerhead, where people can actually do that. The Hammerhead has 6 turrets, and then it has a pilot, co-pilot, blah, blah, blah. To fully man the Hammerhead, you can have up to 9 people. Not including security, personnel, or anything like that. That's just for crew. So, and those 6 turrets are all independently operated. Why can't we do that again? Because we can seemingly do it right now.
These pledge ships would start to become a trend, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit more.
Okay, you've named off a lot of features, Tony, but I think the question on everybody's lips, the thing we need to know before we ourselves go and invest money in this is, will there be Battle Royale?
There's a sort of Battle Royale system that they have right now with the first-person shooter, and in the like online combat simulator where you can like fly the ships around and shoot at everybody. So they have something similar, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just decide to tack on like, oh, we have a full-on real Battle Royale system like Fortnite.
Okay.
With everything else they add, that would be the least surprising thing I've ever heard. The game didn't quite start in such a sprawling manner. In 2012, they'd hoped to raise around $500,000 so that a small team of devs could get their space sim off the ground.
Now, how many fake ships will that buy, Tony? That 500,000? It's like...
The ships aren't fake. The ships are in-game. That's like turning around saying you're buying fake tanks in World of Warships. Or World of Tanks. Or you're buying fake warships in World of Warships. Or you're buying fake gear in World of Warcraft. It's an in-game currency. It's an in-game item. But it's not fake per se. You buy these ships in Star Citizen knowing full well that you're not actually going to have a Javelin park on your backyard. It would be really, really cool if I could, but it's not going to happen. So it's an in-game currency. It's not really a fake item. Otherwise, then you could possibly say that about any micro or macro or whatever you want to call it transaction in the game. And by the way, the prices depend. There's some ships that are $50. There are some ships that are $150. There's some ships that's $1,500. They do also don't mention, of course, that you can buy these same ships in-game with in-game currency. But, of course, that would go against the narrative, I suppose.
About 20?
I want to say most of the ships you can buy in-game. The Javelin, the Kraken, the Idris... Like, you can't even buy those with real-world money most of the time because they're limited stock. And I haven't seen them for sale yet. There's about 86 out of 130 ships that have been developed. And out of that 86, there's about 80 that you can buy in-game. I would say probably close to 80, I would say. I haven't done a count, but it's the vast majority.
It depends on the ships you're buying. You could buy a lot of the $10 ones. By the end of their Kickstarter, they had raised $2.1 million on the actual Kickstarter site and a few million more on their own site because they actually were trying to do a fundraiser where they didn't have to give a cut to Kickstarter. But after
that just makes business sense. If I was trying to raise $2 million and I had to give 10% to Kickstarter and I could get away with not giving that money to Kickstarter and running it on my own self, I would. And it's weird that people try and chastise Star Citizen because the servers, their website went down when they were trying to do this crowdfunding. Their server went down because it was flooded with requests. You do realize that you are trying to claim that a game was bad because it was popular. That's why their website went down. That's why the website, the whole services went down when they released the Intergalactic Planet Expo. I believe it was last year. It went down because it got swamped because everybody tried to jump onto the game at once. It's a bad problem to have when your game is that popular that you literally can crash a website, I suppose. I don't know.
After their servers crashed, they had to kind of do a little bit of both. The site raised an additional $2 million, and the company was sitting pretty at around $5 million when everything was sorted out. The project is being headed up by Chris Roberts, a noticed game developer who has been making games since the 80s. His first massive success was Wing Commander, which hit consoles and PCs in 1990 and was considered absolutely incredible at the time. Chris Roberts being at the head is why this main site is not called Star Citizen, but is rather under the name Roberts Space Industries.
Not really. The reason why the Star Citizen is called Star Citizen, it is actually called that. Okay, the reason why the website is called Roberts Space Industries is because, well, that's actually a game in law. That's a ship manufacturer in law. So in Star Citizen, you have about 10 or 12 manufacturers for ships, right? You got Aegis, RSI, which is Robert Space Industries, Anvil, you have Tumblr, which is obviously you got Misk, you've got you got even alien races that make ships, right? There's about 12 manufacturers that I could possibly think of, without me counting, and one of those is RSI, right? Robert Space Industries. So when they went through and made the website, they called it Robert Space Industries because that's one of the manufacturers in game. Now, at the end of the day, you know, as for Chris Roberts, did he deliberately put his name in there so that he would get traction and that people would be able to find the website? Yeah, probably. He's, whether you like it or not, he is a big name in the gaming industry. And he might have traded on his name to get this game popular. That's just marketing, man. That's not a bad thing. And to be honest, if you want to talk about an ego of putting your own name in a game, well, to be honest, the RSI ships in Star Citizen tend to be pretty basic. They're don't get me wrong, they're nice. The Connie or Constellation looks amazing. But it's far from being the flagship of the Star Citizen community. That would be most likely Origin, if you had to guess. That would be this ship here. This is made by Origin, which is another manufacturer. And you can actually see in this that the ship is a lot more beautiful, a lot more polished, and a lot more complete than anything that RSI will ever put out. And that's because this is the style for Origin. This style for Origin is to go through and to actually put out these beautiful ships that have their own bars, their own restaurants. They have their own, you know, their own spas. This is what this look at this. This is here. This is Origin here. This is the flagship of the Star Citizen community. If Chris Roberts was such an egomaniac that everybody likes to make him out to be, why wouldn't he make this an RSI website? Well, an RSI ship. Why did this have to be Origin and not, you know, RSI? You know, he's made his ship brand tend to be more practical and to be a lot more realistic than some of the other manufacturers in the game that make these beautiful flagship ships. So, yeah, that doesn't even make sense, really. But anyway, let's keep going.
It's being published by another company called Cloud Imperium Games, but really they are all the same people.
Did this guy...
Cloud Imperium Games is RSI, is CIG, Chris Roberts, is Star Citizen. They don't even... You're making it out that they're trying to do some sort of shonky hiding, blah, 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 because blah, blah, blah. Well, no, they actually mention on the website that, you know, that their publisher is Cloud Imperium Games. That everybody knows CIG, or it's actually CI now because they got rid of the G part because we suspect they're going to be doing a lot more than games. You go down the bottom here, Cloud Imperium. It's not a secret that CI is Star Citizen. It is Chris Roberts. They literally put up videos with the Cloud Imperium badge on it. Like, no one is assuming that these are two different companies. We all know that it's run by the same guy. Cloud Imperium is the publisher version of Robert Space Industries. But let's keep going.
I also work on Duke Nukem Forever because you'd think he would have learned something.
No, he did not, but he probably should have. When Duke Nukem Forever was being made, he switched over to making movies and made a lot of major flops, but also created one of the best Nicolas Cage movies ever in Lord of War.
Yeah, okay.
But he also made a bunch of movies like Who's Your Caddy and so on that did very, very poorly.
So, as for the Who's Your Caddy, this is why this video was so bad. I actually had to do a Control F to find his name, because here he is here as an executive producer, buried among all the other executive producers and the co-producers and the producers and everybody else. Right, here's the list of all the people here. He wasn't the director or anything like that. Right? It wasn't written by or anything like that. Wasn't directed by him. That was done by Don Mitchell. He was just an executive producer. One of many on the film. Like, do you really think Chris had that much of an input on this film? Well, considering how many executive producers there were, and he wasn't even the director or anything? Like, you're trying to drag Chris for Who's Your Caddy? I think Chris had very little to do with it. Actually, to be honest. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
Oh, by the way, Who's Your Caddy? It still made over $5 million out of a $7 million budget, and that's at the box office. That wasn't including DVD sales or Netflix or anything like that, right? So as long as it's made another $2 million, it made profit.
I mean, with a name like Who's Your Caddy, did he spend a lot on it? Because it's okay if it's bad on purpose.
$7 million.
I didn't go.
They made $7 million. They spent $7 million making it. Pocket change for a movie, especially these days when you look at like Avengers and stuff like that, who, you know, spent hundreds of millions of dollars. So no, they spent very little money. It was like a Caddyshack sort of movie. It was a comedy sort of thing, I think, from memory. I haven't seen it, but from what I understand, it was like a Caddyshack sort of thing, or a National Lampoon sort of movie.
Too deep into Who's Your Caddy, in all honesty.
Well, and we're all the poorer for it.
This actually wouldn't be the first time that Chris Roberts promised a massive amount of features for a space sim either. He developed a game called Freelancer that was delayed for many years. Although this one, when it was finally released, contained only a portion of what was promised, but was mostly well-liked by players and critics. Metacritic at the time gave it about an 80, and it was a solid game with good controls and was pretty fun. The development would happen in what was considered a module format for Star Citizen, in which they would put each aspect of the game into its own small module so they could test it, work out the bugs, and combine it into a larger game later. The first was the Hangar Mode, which came out in 2013, where you could go and look at the ships you purchased. You could climb in them and do some minor decorating and do a lot of other things. And the reason why people started getting more hyped and why this went from like 5 million to what it is now is because there are some incredible aspects of these ships. Like, every little thing you can think of, you can interact with and change. Like, whenever you're in a cockpit, the controls are all over the place. You actually have to learn how, like, every little thing on your ship works. Like, where's the button that turns, like, the ramp on the back of it open? Like, all these different things that you can control. It's all well done in the cockpit. Like, that's...
Well, it's not just in the cockpit, it's also on the ships as well. For example, the back ramp that he's talking about, you actually go up and there's a button on the ramp. Or you just actually highlight the ramp and hit open and it comes down. It's called immersion, it's called fidelity, it's tactile sensation. It's what, you know, the people of Star Citizen want. We don't want a game where you just magically teleport into your ship. I'm looking at you, Elite Dangerous. But yeah, people don't want that. They're not with Star Citizen. They want to be able to get out of bed, go and put on their flight suit, go down, spawn their ship, walk out to the pad, jump into the actual spaceship, and fly off after flicking on all the buttons to turn it on, or pressing a short key, which they later claim wasn't in it, but we'll get to that in a sec, and fly around. They want that sort of immersion. Drinking game. Gotta drink twice. I said immersion twice.
It's one of the coolest aspects of this game from the times that I've gotten to play it.
So, are you just clicking on buttons and switches, trying to figure out what they do? Like, or are they mapped to keyboard keys?
They highlight it in the game mode. You would absolutely hate that there's not keyboard shortcuts, and the way you actually...
What? Yes, there is. Has been ever since I've been playing it for about 18 months now. There's been shortcuts. I'm sure I didn't know about them the first 3 times I jumped in the game because I had to obviously go through and work it out. But no, yeah, there's shortcuts. For example, you jump into a ship right now, you press U to turn the ship on, and you press I to turn the engines on. You don't need to flick the switches if you don't want to. The keyboard shortcuts are actually there. The fact that you don't know that just shows that you haven't actually played this game much at all.
interact with things. You don't like look at something and hit E. You actually have to hit F,
Yes, you can. Yes, you do.
hold it down, and wait for the menu to pop up. Then you select what you do with that little switch. So it's a little clunky there. Like, I could see you just absolutely not even be... Like, it would be unplayable for you.
I don't like the lack of keyboard shortcuts. It's true.
I'm sure
There are keyboard shortcuts. This is the problem with actually talking about a game or referencing a game that you have not actually spent some decent amount of time playing.
sure that they probably have something now, but I didn't dig into the keyboard shortcuts because my game time was limited. And
In other words, I couldn't be bothered checking to see if there was a shortcut key. It's not like there's a whole map key selection. Oh wait, there is. Under controls. Under options. You know, where they normally are located. But don't worry, he didn't bother taking much of a look to go through and to check, because he was that invested in actually taking 5 seconds to check to see if there was keyboard shortcuts.
this was released in 2013 and allowed a lot of backers to breathe a sigh of relief by actually being able to see the ships that they had purchased in the game. The next was the Arena Commander, a sort of battle arena and racing area where players could take their ships and their first flights and fight with other players. The frame rate looked about like a PowerPoint presentation and the controls were pretty wonky, but it was a very early development thing and it gave people more hope for how the combat system would actually turn out later.
Now, I can't speak for what Arena Commander was like when it first came out, because I wasn't a part of the Star Citizen community back in that. I think it was back in 2014, I think. But I can tell you back in 2017, 2018, before client-side OCS was put in, there was a issue with getting a decent frame rate on Star Citizen. There were low frame rates, but with the implication of client-side OCS, you can actually get a very decent frame rate now as long as you're running off an SSD. And I will say that was also my problem back when I first started playing. I ran it off a mechanical drive. Do not try and play this game on a mechanical drive. Your frame rate will suck, because this game constantly loads things in the background. That's why there's no loading screens in this game whatsoever. When you, for example, spawn into Port Al-Azhar, obviously it loads up the Port Al-Azhar and the surrounding assets. You go down, you click on your ship to spawn, it then loads the spawn ship. So then you walk out to the pad, you jump into the ship, you go to fly off, and as you are quantum jumping to a location, the game turns around and says, okay, we're heading to, for example, Yella. I need all those assets for Yella, and while you are quantum jumping to that location, the game is constantly loading in assets and exiting assets that it no longer needs. It's actually quite a very impressive system, because there is no loading screens in Star Citizen except for the loading screen to get into the game. And apart from that, you can then basically fly anywhere and not have to worry about a single loading screen. Anthem, I'm looking at you.
After this, they made a module called Star Marine, which was a module to contain the first-person shooter aspect of the game. They outsourced this to a company called Ilphonics, who developed it to the best of their ability. Unfortunately, due to communication issues with Ilphonics, they were building maps to the wrong scale, the art didn't quite match up, and a lot of other things started to go wrong. And then in the middle of development, they decided to change the game engine so that it would allow Linux players to play. And they decided...
What are you going on about? So Star Citizen changed engines from CryEngine to Lumberyard. Lumberyard is actually CryEngine. Lumberyard is CryEngine 5.4, 5.5, I think, where they've actually, Amazon went through, they brought this engine from CryEngine, they renamed it, and then they started modifying it to expand it to make it a better game engine, because Amazon wants to get into game design. So when Star Citizen was running off CryEngine, for example, and then they switched to Lumberyard, it was simply a case of exporting assets, importing assets, and it worked perfectly. There was very little downtime, if any. They're going to try and make the argument later that the game was delayed because of changing assets, because of switching between engines. no, actually factually inaccurate. The engine itself, Lumberyard, is actually CryEngine that has been heavily modified. And then since then, Star Citizen has heavily modified Lumberyard. For example, adding 64-bit precision pointing, floating points, OCS, client-side OCS, server-side OCS. They're going to add server meshing at a later date, all these different situations. So even the Amazon Lumberyard that we have now, that was originally there, is vastly different than what we actually have now with Star Citizen. Because CIG have expanded it to a better engine that, by the way, looks frigging amazing. And this is the part of the reason why they actually switched. So this is actually a trailer from a org called Synchronizers. It's part of the org that I'm affiliated with. This is actually in-game footage. This is Star Citizen right now. This is the game that they are currently trying to slam, so to speak. I'm glad this game sucks this much that you can have a fleet of warships all heading to a location together. Like, this game just looks... By the way, 50 people all in the same location because they're all on the same server. This is the stuff that Synchronizers get up to. By the way, guys, link in the description below if you want to go and check out Sync. Really cool bunch of guys, and I have a lot of good times with the guys from Sync. They are an amazing group of guys. They're like a second family. But to give you an idea, this is Star Citizen. This is the game that they are currently trying to persuade you is vaporware. I tell you what, it's the best vaporware I've goddamn ever seen in my life, to be honest. Do I need to continue with the rest of this video, or do I just need to play this for you guys to watch? Because apparently this game is vaporware. This is what they said in the comments, right? This is what they said in the title. It's vaporware. Really? Let's just pick any random spot in this video trailer. And let's just have a look. Now, sure, you need an org to do this. Synchronizers is open to anybody to join if you want to. Rexilla does something very similar, and I'll play a video here in a sec, where he'll go through and do 50-man PvP missions every day except for Saturday. I think it's Saturday. And it's open to anybody. Anybody in his channel, and in his Twitch channel can join. This is the game that's supposedly vaporware right now. It's not finished, but this is what you can do. Let's just... You want to see some PvP? Let's just bring up Rexilla. Like, this is what annoys me about this, right?
Why are we on this fucking planet?
I don't know. Whose fucking decision was that to come here?
There's a hammerhead, enemy hammerhead.
Enemy hammerhead incoming?
Yeah, that's an affirmative. Clear the ship. It's head right for us.
Get out of the way!
Holy shit!
Get to the guys, get to the forest. That's our cover.
Move!
Holy fuck!
It's actually dive bombing right at us.
This is Star Citizen. This is Rexilla playing in Star Citizen. I hope Rex doesn't mind me playing this.
It's got gunners. It's got gunners.
We're taking rounds!
Get to the trees.
Move, move!
Drift, you're not gonna be able to take him out by yourself.
This is them playing it.
Oh my goodness. Drift, stall him!
What? This is vaporware? Really?
That's
Oh,
fucking
it's an NPC!
That's an NPC. That's fucking badass.
No way.
Oh shit! Oh my god! Oh shit!
So the ship that just blew up was Rexilla's ship. That is an NPC ship that has been kidnapped by a player. Don't ask. And the ships that are attacking it, that you can see, that have the little blue names, that one right there that was just shooting at it, that's Rexilla's team. Trying to take out this huge, great big hammerhead.
Take him out, boys! Air support, lay into him! Is everybody okay?
Like,
Everybody bunker in.
yeah, I could just keep playing this, I suppose, if you guys wanted, but I probably shouldn't. But guys, yeah, look, links in the description below. Go and join Synchronizers for an org, or join Rexilla's ZDF. I don't care either way. I play with both of them, so. But yeah, I prefer Sync because it's my guys. But Rexilla's also really cool as well. And they do this stuff all the time. Synchronizers do a mission probably once a week, once a fortnight. Rexzilla does a mission like this every day of the week except for Saturdays. But let's keep going back to this bad idea.
To fire Ilphonics instead of letting them redevelop it for this system. They canceled Star Marine for a little while, but then brought it back, and now it's a first-person shooter that you can still play. And they're hoping that this is a big part of the main game later, so that you have like space combat, you have on-the-ground combat, you've got all these.
I've just showed you guys the ongoing crap. It's not a part of a game in the future. It is a part of the game now. You can actually do that right now.
Different ways of playing depending on what you actually like doing, as well as the cool ideas of being able to like force dock onto another player's ship and go through it and basically fight Space Hulk action.
So you're saying it's a game that's been in development for a stupidly long time. They changed.
It's not been in development for a stupidly long time. This is the thing that really bugs me, right? The Star Citizen has 100 different systems. Every system has its different planets. So this is what they're planning, okay? If it was just going to be the one system with the 3 planets, 4 planets, and the 15 or 20 moons, then it would be close to finish, probably. But the fact is that they've gone through, they're not only making Star Citizen, they're also making Squadron 42 at the same time, which they talk about later, which is the actual first-person aspect of it. So they are actually focusing on that more than they are on Persistent Universe, which is Star Citizen at the moment. Right? Stupidly long time is an ignorant sort of concept, because at the end of the day, how long was a game like, for example, Red Dead Redemption in development? What about Cyberpunk 2077? How long has that been in development? What about Grand Theft Auto? Grand Theft Auto 5 took how many years to make? And that was after they already had all the studio, they had all the assets, they already had the pre-existing condition or knowledge with the game engine. They didn't have to worry about building any of the tools or anything like that, right? Grand Theft Auto 5, GTA, they were able to get off the ground and running literally with a full team, 500 to 1,000 employees ready to go. CIG, or Cloud Imperium, went through, and on their release, on their day, or their first day, they had 5 employees. That was it. They have been able to go through and build up their team over the past 5 to 7 years. Yes, they are up to 530 something employees now, but it's been a painful progress of them having to go through and to constantly build up their team, employing people to go through and to get this game made. They didn't have that pre-existing group of people to go through and to make Grand Theft Auto like Grand Theft Auto 5 had. Not to mention, GTA also had assets, game knowledge, engine knowledge. They had, all of it, a lot of the work already done. So, claiming that Star Citizen has been in development for a, quote, stupidly long time, it really is an ignorant conversation.
The engine they're developing for in the middle of the development cycle, and
they didn't change the engine per se. They went from CryEngine to Lumberyard, which is still CryEngine. Like, this is the problem. If you don't do your research and you're commenting on games, you kind of look a bit stupid. Because you're trying to make out that was the reason why they were delayed. Was because of the fact that they went through and changed the engine. No. The amount of downtime that was involved was minimal. It really was.
None of these people worked on Duke Nukem 3D.
None of them. Like, they were using the CryEngine, which is not something Duke Nukem used, and now they're on, like, this weird free Amazon
but Duke,
system.
if you recall from our episode
I definitely
on Duke
recall.
Nukem 3D, they definitely did decide to switch in the middle of producing and just had to create all new assets, and I'm just getting flashbacks.
Believe me, whenever I was reading this, I was like, this is exactly what happened with Duke Nukem. I mean, how long...
Okay, so this is apparently exactly what happened with Duke Nukem. The problem is that Duke Nukem went from being a Quake 2 engine to an Unreal engine. And it says here, Unreal Engine was more realistic than Quake 2 and was better suited to production open spaces. 3D realism struggled to render the Nevada desert. The developers unanimously agreed to change, which meant scrapping most of their work, including significant changes 3D realism had made to the Quake engine. So, when they changed from Quake to Unreal, they lost a lot of the work and they basically had to start from scratch again. Star Citizen hasn't had to do that because at the end of the day, the engine that they're running on was CryEngine. They've switched to Lumberyard, which is actually the CryEngine that has been modified since. It's literally Amazon going in and saying to CryEngine, we want to buy your engine. CryEngine said, yup, how much? And CryEngine literally gave them a copy of the CryEngine system. There was very little, if any, downtime.
How long did it take? 13 years for Duke Nukem Forever?
Yes.
Something around that? Like, we're at 7 years right now for this. They say the first year doesn't count, otherwise it would be 8, because that was just a proof of concept.
The difference here is that we're in the weird partial release beta world
Alpha.
where
they've never uttered the word beta. Like,
Okay.
everything is alpha right now.
This is just my limited vocabulary here. Whatever model it is where people release their game in pieces before the game is actually released, at least Duke Nukem when it came out was the whole game that they made.
Yeah, but these guys are stupid. Star Citizen is doing an open development. Duke Nukem wasn't. Open development is where you go through and you develop the game in full transparency so everybody can see it. It has its advantages, it has its disadvantages. One of the biggest advantages when it came to open source development was, for example, hover mode. Universally, I don't want to say universally, but very much hated among the community. To the point where Jared Huckabee, Disco Lando, Jared Huckabee is his name? Disco. We just call him Disco. Where Disco went through and actually recently said on Star Citizen Live that one of the best things about running an open development is the fact that if something like hover mode is not liked and appreciated, or if it doesn't fly the way they wanted it to, they can go through and they can change it. Which is exactly right. Obviously, the downside to open development is that at the end of the day, you have a game, quote game, that you're trying to make while people are trying to play it. And that causes a lot of bugs. Yeah, there's bugs in Star Citizen. There will be until the game is finished.
You didn't get like, here's a model of the Duke that you can have on your desk, and here's one level you can play, and here's what a gun might look like. It was all the game.
For $15, you can purchase this particular gun that you might be able to play with Duke later.
I bet they would have had, like, at that point, if they were doing that now, they would have, like, the $15 topless DLC. It's like, all the enemies are topless hot ladies.
I'll be interested
instead of just the strippers.
That actually sounds exactly like what they would do in today's market. The next mode is the one I was the most excited about, the Universe mode. This was set to be a major draw for a giant living universe with hundreds of systems to explore at launch, and near infinite amount later thanks to procedurally generated planets. Like that game that also had a wonderful launch called No Man's Sky.
I was about to say, I've heard of this game when it was called No Man's Sky, and it wasn't well received there either.
See, this is the thing that bugs me about this sort of stuff, right? They're hating on No Man's Sky because it was rushed. It was rushed out the door. But then they're also hating on Star Citizen because they're taking their time to develop it. Can you make up your mind? Anthem. Universally hated because it was rushed. Rushed out the door. Star Citizen. Criticized because they're taking their time. Anthem. Universally hated because it was rushed out the door. Cyberpunk has been criticized because they're taking their time. It's like they can't win because if they take their time to develop it and get it right, people get sick of waiting or get upset because they have to wait. But people also get sick and upset if the game comes out and it's incomplete because they rushed it out the door. You can't have Both of those. You got to have one or the other. You really do.
Yeah, but the difference is No Man's Sky actually released. And they actually built a game that turned out to be pretty good and actually has a pretty thriving community built around it now because they added in a bunch of the features that people were hoping for.
Thriving.
So I've heard.
This was where you were supposed to be able to see entire fleets of players in formation trying to control territories, explore, mine, and just generally live like that hard sci-fi life.
Do I need to play the trailer for this again? Where is it? What? Do I need to play this again with the fleet of ships, for example? Do I need to mention Jumptown by any instance? The battles that happened over Jumptown where Synchronizers is one of the orgs, but all the orgs were trying to battle for control of Jumptown at any given time. But anyway, I'm glad we can't do that in the game anymore. Jokes.
And this is what I've been wanting from a game for ages.
I must admit, some of the best times I've ever had in Star Citizen has been playing with an org and literally trying to take out a faction org. Like the Matadors, the pirate org.
Just like I've wanted to see that space sim that was so deep that you could just like you could literally feel like you were part of like the Expanse or part of Star Trek or something like that. And that's what they were hoping to release.
I think there's a difference in having a world that you identify with in some way and having every single detail being accurate to how it would quote-unquote really be. I mean, people love the Fallout games to a certain extent, but they're still, like, games?
Yeah,
you know?
You still have stim packs, you still have, like, all these other things that are sort of magic, so you don't have to get bogged down in a 3-week healing session for whenever you took, like, some frag grenade, like, parts to your middle.
Which is what every game I know has. I don't know any game that takes you 3 weeks to heal after you've taken a frag grenade. Star Citizen doesn't do that. To quote Chris Roberts, we want to make the game as realistic as possible, and then we're going to bring back the realism to a point where it begins to be fun again. So in Star Citizen, you have medipens that will go through and will heal you. At the moment anyway, they later want to change it so that medipens only give you a temporary heal, and then you have to go back to a hospital and that will fix you up good and proper. But at the moment, the medipens still work like magic and wavy.
Yeah, one of the things I think people, and maybe I'm wrong about this, there's all kinds of different people who like different kinds of games these days, but I don't know that the general public is crying out for more details in their video games as far as how things operate. I've been back playing the original Doom on my Switch because they released it on the Switch, and believe you me, there is no part of me that thinks, man, if only I had to reload these weapons.
Really? You don't think reloading firearms is something that people like to do? Name a game that came out in the past 5 or 10 years that you don't have to reload a weapon. I can't think of one. There probably is one, but I can't think of one. COD, Call of Duty, one of the biggest gaming franchises out there, literally has reloading in it. Why are people not... If you say people don't want that, why is it that one of the biggest games out there for FPS is a game where you need to reload your weapon? Anyway, moving along.
In the middle of these fights, that would really make this game a better game. That's just not there.
Actually,
well, like the thing is, you could get as tedious as you want in this, or you can take some of the shortcuts. Like you can go up to the cockpit and be like, enter cockpit, or you can do lower ladder, like climb door, enter seat, close hatch, all these other like things. You can make it like a 12-step process if you want. And like I said, this is where I've actually played the game. And whenever you wake up in this space station and you go around and you see these NPCs, and it looks fantastic, and you climb into your spaceship for the first time, and you walk past the bunks that are in there, you see how the weapon systems work, you see how responsive everything is, you can understand how much detail they're putting into this game. But whenever you have so much detail, that it's never going to be released, that's a problem. Also, the fact that the bugs are so insanely bad. Like, getting to my ship, I fell through the world and died like 3 separate times. Because, like, I just, like, fell through a platform or, like, got caught in...
Yeah, but the game's in development. It's not even finished yet. What do you want them to do? Go through and fix the bugs right now? What's the point in that? The next patch that comes out where they add another module or they add something will break out the bugs that they just went through and fixed. That will make the game take even longer to come out. I know it's frustrating playing a game, quote, that has bugs at the moment, but the game's not finished. What you're better off doing is making it so they go through, get all the modules put on all the core systems, and then, after everything is put in, then do the polishing. That's what you're supposed to do in game development. The only difference is that people wouldn't normally see what we see in Star Citizen because of closed development. Because the game is open development, we get to see this stuff that we would never normally get to see. And that's one of the downfalls when it comes to open development.
A thing. Or a door would open and it was a black void to nothing. Like, there's just so many weird, wonky little things.
The black void to nothing, you just simply wait for the door to close and reopen and it's fine. That's just an object container streaming issue where it doesn't load the asset because you're not that far forward. Even with that black void, if you just walk through that black void, the elevator will be there and it'll spawn and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's just, there's a barrier when it comes to object container streaming. It just happens that the barrier is behind the door. When you open the door, you're not that far forward that it realized that it needs the new asset. That's all.
That happen. And that's not even half of what I've seen online for some of this stuff. Like, they added an incredibly detailed city with, like, a working train system that you have to, like, wait for it to show up and all these other things where, like, everything is done in real time and it's meant to be the coolest, like, type of simulator that you can be in. And some of it's absolutely beautiful. And the ships are big enough that you can literally get lost in them trying to figure out, like, all right, I'm on, like, deck 4 and...
Yeah, I got lost in the Reclaimer so many times it's not funny. The 890 jump, I got lost in it so many times that it would actually despawn the ship off the pad because it needed the pad for somebody else's ship and there's a timer. Because I couldn't find my way to the bridge, I kept getting lost in it.
Like, I've got to get up to this next area, and there's so many cool things about it. It even has, like, a weird thing where it's tracking your facial expressions in real time so that other people can see the expression on your character's face while you're looking at them. Like, there's a ton of detail that's just completely outlandishly, like, incredible. But this is what led to the feature creep and why it's probably never going to be released.
Yep. You gotta pick something to put out.
I'm glad these two people that make computer games are telling a experienced game developer what they need to do to make their game. But anyway, as for the game never being able to come out, that's an assumption. It really, really is an assumption. Do I think Star Citizen will ever release? Yeah, I think it will. Whether it'll be the 100 systems at release date, probably not. I imagine what's going to happen with Star Citizen is we will get most likely probably 5 to 10 systems on release, and then they will slowly add more and more systems over time using the procedural tools that they've developed to basically knock the systems out like that. So that's what I reckon will happen, is we will get what they call a limited release, which will be the basic game, the basic systems, so like salvage, repair, refuel, cargo running, mining, bounty hunting, stuff like that. And then they will go through and they will add other modules at a later date once the game is fully up and running. Similar to what Elite Dangerous is doing right now. Elite Dangerous has a major patch that came out this month. And they also have a reported major patch that's coming out next year, which is apparently going to make Elite Dangerous have space legs. They seem to be emulating Star Citizen.
Out, guys.
The final game mode in this is the single-player mode called Squadron 42, which is their single-player story mode. They went all out hiring major actors for this, finding people like Gary Oldman, Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, Andy Serkis, and more. Cloud Imperium's...
Just on that, some of these actors had actually worked with Chris Roberts in the past, Mark Hamill had worked with Chris Roberts. I think it was on Freelancer, and Cavill Harris, Superman, for example, actually messaged Chris Roberts and said he wanted to be in the game because he was a huge fan. So yeah, and I know it sucks having a single player game that has huge characters in it like Gary Oldman. That really must suck to have that sort of single player game, right? It's not like any other game has put a major actor in their game recently, like Cyberpunk 2077 with Keanu Reeves, for example, right? It's not like that happens. Oh, wait. My bad.
Said that this game would offer a minimum of 20 hours of core gameplay with tons of side quests, and they are already planning the next 2 sequels. For Roberts, this is his spiritual successor to Wing Commander.
This is the game I want to play, I think.
See, I'm fine with the single player aspect, but I want that giant world. But they're like, I could see this being fun, but like because they're so divided, we're not getting any of it.
Yeah, they put one of these things out. Either put Minecraft in space out with lots of graphics, right? Because that's what the other thing seems like. Kind of. I guess there's not really mining and stuff, or is there?
There is mining. Well, supposedly. Like, they're saying that they're making it complicated.
What? You couldn't even find out if there was mining in the game? How long did you play this game for, man? 5 minutes? You didn't notice the mining terminals? Or you didn't ask anybody if there was mining in the game? Or ask them to show you mining in the game? Like, Jesus Christ, this guy was so lazy. Secondly, they're saying that you got to put one or the other out. And you got to focus on one or the other. Well, I'm glad it's not a thing that Chris Roberts is actually doing. Oh, wait. He is. So Chris Roberts and CIG have actually come out and said they are solely focusing on Squadron 42. What we are getting in the persistent universe, which is what Star Citizen is mostly the leftover stuff from Squadron 42. And I can show you what I mean by that here, for example. So, this is the persistent universe, this is for the roadmap, and this is Squadron 42, right? So, if we go to Squadron 42, for example, and we bring up features, we expand all, right, so, you got the Titan suits, flight, FPS cover, FPS stealth, and, for example, like flight, logic missions, navigation, navigation, that's new. Right. Combat weapon types, flight gunships, right? A whole bunch of different stuff. Right? Here it is all here. Now, 0 push and pull. 0G push and pull. We go back to Star Citizen and 0G push and pull. So what happens is they go through and they put it in Squadron 42 because that is where it's needed. Oops. And then what they'll do is then they will simply expand the module that they've got for Squadron 42 to make it work with the multiplayer aspect. So, for example, 0G push and pull will be the basic stuff that you need for Squadron 42. And then once that's been done, then they'll go through and they'll expand it so that it works with the multi-universe. Or the multi-system. Or the persistent universe. Like ship-to-ship docking, for example. And if we were to go to Squadron 42, ship, where is it? There's a lot. No, not there. But yeah, but anyway, yeah. I was trying to find an example of there's other stuff as well. It's not just 0G push or pull. But yeah. And once they've gone through and they've done what they need to for those 3 months, because they do the 3-monthly cycle for patches, once they've gone through and they've done everything for this, they will then go through and they will add extras to this sort of stuff here. And they'll work on other stuff, like, for example, Good Doctor, Star Marine, caves, AI, whatever it may be that they need to polish. So a lot of this stuff here on the persistent universe is actually over here. That's why you see a lot of the AI, for example. You'll see a lot of AI in here. like walk and talk, usables, power supplies. Actually, the AI should be up here. Where's the AI tech? FPS weapon types, FPS realistic firing version 2, navigation, for example. This is all AI tech here, right? This is why it's under AI. And that stuff will then work its way into the persistent universe because that's where it can be added, for example. So they are focusing on Squadron 42. And Chris Roberts has actually said that. And the fact that you don't know that shows the little research you've done.
You don't just hit a thing and actually mine. You have to like do some complicated maneuvers to like mine an asteroid. You can buy plots of lands on planet and build whatever you want there supposedly, but we haven't seen exactly what you can do, but it costs $100 per plot.
It was actually $50 to $100 per plot depending on the size. There was 2. And that was only released once. And those plots you will be able to buy in-game with in-game currency when it does come out. It's not something that's needed for Squadron 42. So therefore, they are not focusing on bringing it into the persistent universe at the moment because they're doing what you said they should do and focus on Squadron 42. You see why I get frustrated with videos like this.
Things like that.
But this other thing where they're just like, also we have sort of the new version of Wing Commander. Like, why didn't you just make that? You could have made so much money and we wouldn't be talking about you right now unless you did something else stupid.
Because the persistent universe and Squadron 42 actually run off the same engine. That's why, for example, when they go through and they put in 0G push and pull, it is very easy for them to go through and make it so that it works with the persistent universe because it's the same engine. Right? They put the features they need in for Squadron 42, and then they go, okay, that works, we got that. Now, what do we need for persistent universe to make this tier 1, for example?
Yeah, well, the thing is, if they got Squadron 42 working, like, if they just focused on that, and then they're like, oh, man, you know how much you love that Squadron 42 game? Now we have the giant open world thing that was based off of that.
Which is what they're doing. Which is exactly what they're doing. Squadron 42 release at the moment is set for Q3, 2020. It was pushed back by 3 months. For the beta, at least. And once that goes in, that's what they're going to be doing. After people play Squadron 42, they'll be able to jump into the persistent universe.
Like, just get it streamlined and done for that game and, like, put out the other stuff later. That's what...
The reason why they can't do that, they can't put out Squadron 42 at the moment, is because they need server-side OCS, which is obviously what the servers need to load and unload assets. And also they need the AI to be better, which also comes as server-side OCS as well. So they are working on the AI tech at the moment, but they're also going through and working on, for example, server-side OCS. Once those are done and those are complete, Squadron 42 will be mostly complete.
That's what they should be doing, but that's not
what they are doing.
Not what's happening.
It is.
And I just want to take a moment to remind you that the Squadron 42 game was supposed to be fully launched in 2014. Like, entirely.
We're not still in 2014, right, Tony? This is later than that? Just checking. Okay.
Considering that this was during the first term of the Obama administration, that's how far removed we are from this.
Second term, you mean? You said 2014. Obama's second term started in 2012. So Obama was 2008 to 2012. 2012 to 2016 was his second term. And then Trump took over from 2016. So you don't even know your basic politics.
Okay.
They claim to have a tentative date of second quarter 2020, and that is for the single-player version.
Now, that was pushed back. Obviously, this happened after he made this video, so that's not their fault. But it was pushed back for 3 months because they are still working on AI and server-side OCS.
I have
for
very little
20
faith.
hours of gameplay, by the way, which is okay, but it's not that many hours of gameplay.
It's 20 hours of core missions plus all the extra stuff that you can do on the side, all the extra quests and everything like that. And by the way, Squadron 42, the chapters were expanded, so we're not sure if those 20 hours was before the story was expanded for Squadron 42. Yeah, but there is actually a hour and a half play of Squadron 42 up on the internet. It's using not as good a graphics as what we have in the game now because it's a little bit old. We are expecting to get somewhat of a more polished version of Squadron 42 demo when it comes to CitizenCon later this year.
At this point, the staff grew from dozens to well over 200 people. Everything from YouTube editors and film crews that put out 2 to 3 videos per week, to linguists to design alien languages, coders, artists, and more in studios across the world. Like, there's some in Austin, there's some in Santa Monica, there's quite a few in Germany. Like, there's a lot of different studios.
No, there's only one studio in Germany. There's a studio in Germany, there's a studio in Manchester, there is one in Austin, there is one in Santa Monica, and there is one in LA. They have 5 studios. That is it.
Studios that are handling different aspects of this game. This also doesn't include the substantial amount of work that is outsourced to other companies. As of the most recent article, there are up to 537 people working on this game full-time.
It's not out.
No. And not even...
By the way, Grand Theft Auto had 500 to 1,000 people. I'm not quite sure the exact number. Red Redemption had how many people working in the studio? I think that was 1,000 people, I think it was. How many people worked on Cyberpunk 2077? Having 500 people to put out a game is not a lot. It is pretty much the standard for a massive game right now. Also, you have to remember, Star Citizen did not start with 500 people. You're making it sound like the game was started on 2013 and they had 500 employees. That's what you're assuming, or that's what you're making it sound like there. No, they started in 2013 with 5 employees. They've slowly had to build up their numbers. And they are very picky about who they work or who works in the game industry with them now. Because they've had a few bad run-ins with experienced game devs that didn't work out. So now they're a little bit more picky about who they have in their studios. Subsequently, at the moment, there is still over 100 jobs available on Cloud Imperium Games. Well, actually, it's Cloud Imperium because they got rid of the games part. But yeah, on CI's website, you can actually go, and they actually are looking for over 100 employees at the moment. If you know anybody that is really, really good at AI and coding and really good coders for AI, feel free to give them the website.
Even close. Like, not even remotely close to out. AAA titles such as Grand Theft Auto have been known to have much larger staffs, but they also have a history of actually publishing their games and reaping massive benefits.
But yeah, because they put the game out when they started the game. When Grand Theft Auto, I think they had 500 to 1,000 employees. I don't know the exact number. I could look it up. But when they went out and when they published and when they started making the game, on day 1, they had 500 employees. They didn't have to literally buy the studio building, which is what Cloud Imperium had to actually do. They literally had to buy the building to make the game, because when they were doing the 2012 tech demo or whatever for the Gamescom presentation, Chris was literally programming it in his house. They had 5 employees. They've had to slowly build up. It takes time to build a game, especially when you have to build up the company while you're also building the game. They've had to buy 5 studios. They brought a mocap studio or mocap equipment. They've brought all the equipment, all the computers and everything to make the game. They've had to go through and redesign Lumberyard engine to incorporate 64-bit floating positions, server-side OCS, client-side OCS, which, by the way, they will be able to sell that tech at a later date because they've designed it, so they should be able to sell it. Like, it takes time to build this up. They didn't have the 500 employees on day 1, like Grand Theft Auto.
Like GTA 5, GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, all these other ones with these giant staffs have put something together and actually released it.
Yeah, because they've made the game. They've had the time. The Red Dead Redemption was in development for how long? Where were these guys going on about this game never coming out when it came to Red Dead Redemption 2? By the way, Red Dead Redemption 2, a sequel to Red Dead Redemption, So they already had the stuff, they already had the experience with the game engine, they already had the assets. They already knew what they were going to do. Cloud Imperium has had to redesign everything and start from scratch. Yeah, sorry it's taken a little longer. By the way, Red Dead was in development for 10 years? 7 to 10 years?
God of War was Santa Monica Studios, and they had a couple hundred people at one point, and they focused in, they knew what they wanted to do, and they put it out. Like, this is just so...
Did it have the scope of Star Citizen? No. Right.
Substantially large that with 500 people, they're not able to get simple features working. Like I said, I was falling through the world over and over and over again. I was watching as the game kept crashing for a guy online, and every time he was just trying to get to one place, and it took over a half hour of space jumps and like hyperspace and everything just to get his ship to this area for it to crash immediately when he was trying to land.
And
it sounds like this guy was jumping from Port Alizar to ArcCorp or Port Alizar to Hurston or vice versa on those, which is roughly a 10 to 15 minute jump depending on the size of the ship. It sounds like he was spending a vast majority of that time going through and actually spawning at Port Alizar or vice versa and trying to get to this other location. So it sounds like he was spending most of that time in travel from what I'm hearing there. And I'm presuming this is the 3.5 or 3.6 patch that came out, which most people would argue is probably the worst patch ever for Star Citizen. Because there were so many bugs and so many glitches. As for falling through the earth, I've had it happen once every now and then. I really have not I haven't had it happen to me in months. Probably about 3 or so months. Probably since 3.5. Which was the last time it probably happened to... I think it was actually happening to a mate of mine who I was playing with. He fell through the planet. But that was like 3 months ago. So it's not a usual occurrence for that to happen. There are other bugs that happen, but falling through the planet and Earth and that doesn't normally happen much anymore.
not crash into the ground with his ship in a very realistic manner. You mean like blue screen of death, the game clipped out or something?
Let's call it both, because both of those happened.
Okay, so hang on. So if a guy is crashing into a planet with his spaceship, how is that the game fault? If he's crashing into the planet, that's user error. That you're trying to drag CIG for that. That's a little bit. That's a little bit rough.
Oh, okay.
There was a pretty funny moment where he was flying into the city and he forgot which button was to open the communicator so that he could request a landing, and he was shot out of the sky. It's like, that's some attention to detail right there.
He wouldn't have been shot out of the sky. He would have clipped the no-fly zone. Right? He could have easily hovered over the landing pads and found the button to bring up the communications. Mind you, it's F1. It's literally on the Mobiglass listed as communication. But anyway, sounds like this guy really didn't have much of a time playing it. He sounded like he was a fairly noobish player. So at the end of the day, look, I'm not dragging him for it. Look, we all got to start somewhere. But it sounds like this might have been more user error than bugs with the game.
But again, it doesn't sound like a game. It just sounds like me trying to, park somewhere and forgetting what button turns the AC on in my van because it's a terrible design. And man, if I could do an episode about the dashboard of the Honda Odyssey that I own and bad ideas. This is a digression, Tony. This bad dashboard. None of the buttons make any sense. Good van otherwise. But it doesn't sound like a game. And to me, it doesn't sound like they know what they will actually...
So does that make it sound that your dashboard isn't a dashboard then? If you don't know where the buttons are, if you don't know how to operate the buttons, right, on your dashboard of your Honda van, does that mean it's any less of a dashboard? No, it's still a dashboard. It just makes you a little bit slow.
Want to do. It sounds like there's about 5 different ideas here that are all trying to live in the same game. And
there's 5 overarching ideas with like 500 subcategories to each one of those ideas.
Right, you have to pick one.
No, you don't. This is the thing that they don't get, right? This is the problem. People are so used to cookie cutter games these days, like, for example, Call of Duty. And I'm not dragging Call of Duty, right? It's great. You know, those games have a place. But at the end of the day, the thing about Star Citizen, the reason why Star Citizen has managed to raise $200 and something million for crowdfunding is because it's not a cookie cutter game. People want to be able to jump into Star Citizen and be able to wake up in a bed, go over, spawn their ship, jump into their ship, fly to a different planet or a completely different system even at a later date, land on a planet, land anywhere they want, jump out of their ship, go into an FPS mission, shoot a whole bunch of bad guys or an aliens or whatever it may be, and then jump back in their ship and fly home. That's what people want. People want to be able to get out of bed, go to their ship, fly their ship to a rival enemy ship, and do some sort of wacko spaceboarding technique, which actually surprisingly happens more than you can imagine. That actually happens now, for example. That clip earlier that I showed you with Rexilla. Let me show you here. Right, this ship here. That's an NPC ship that was kidnapped or captured by a player. That's actually a player who managed to get aboard an NPC ship and stole it. This is some of the shit you can get up to in Star Citizen. That's what people want. They don't want the cookie cutter game. We've got enough of those. We want people that are going to push the gaming industry so that people like, for example, these large corporations actually have to go through and make an effort when it comes to game. Instead of putting out the same game year after year after year, Call of Duty and Battlefield, I'm looking at you. Instead of putting out those same games year after year after year, actually push the envelope. And it's funny because it's an indie company that's actually making the rest of the gaming industry look really bad when it comes to making cookie cutter games. But anyway.
You have to know what you're gonna do and then go do it. You can't do all the things.
You have to do the exact same thing that Call of Duty has done year after year. Battlefield has done year after year. Don't try anything new, because you'll make our friends in the gaming industry look really, really bad. One thing, I have one warning for everybody that wants to get involved with Star Citizen. Star Citizen will ruin gaming for you. Star Citizen ruined computer games for me. Because once you've gone through and you've played Star Citizen, you will look at other games as like they're a lesser version of a game. You look at games like Call of Duty and whatnot, and you will be bored. Because you will get spoilt with Star Citizen. I put 4,000 hours into Destiny on the Xbox. I don't know if I would have done that now that I've played Star Citizen. I really wouldn't have. Because it does spoil you. And you will get used to playing these huge, great big open world MMOs, RPGs, and other games will just not be able to compete.
Yeah.
You have to do a thing. Like, if you really want to do something well, you need to do just that thing, not 18 other things that kind of seem like you maybe could do them. That's my take on this anyway.
No, I believe that you have, you've entirely figured it out. You should go work for them.
No, please
solve
don't.
your problem.
Please do
Hire
not.
me today,
Please,
and I will tell you to stop doing things.
No,
and you will win.
We do not need
Or
you
you
in
could just
Star
read the book Essentialism. It's a good book.
In 2015, The Escapist put an article out saying that former employees had started to leak information about toxic work environments, a distinct lack of vision on how to accomplish their goals, and much more. It was also stated that they had already spent 82 of their then $90 million total raised in making an unplayable game. Other controversies started and said that...
So just on that, when people talk about Star Citizen, quote, running out of money and everything like that, what they don't realize is that the way Star Citizen works, or Chris Roberts works, right? He says, right, I raised $30 million last year. I can spend $20 million on staff. And he will go through and he will just employ people, obviously, that are qualified. But he will employ people to build up the numbers for this gaming studio. And that's what they're doing at the moment. Now, we don't know how much is in Chris Roberts' bank account or CIG's bank account at the end of all this. We can assume that it's somewhere between, well, they had $45 million investment for Squadron 42 for publishing, and they had $15 million left after that, so that makes close to $60 million, plus whatever they've made this year. So, yeah. They're in a fairly good situation. Look, obviously they can't lay off ship sales. Obviously they need to keep selling ships to keep making money. Yeah. Like, for example, Grand Theft Auto keeps making microtransactions to keep funding their game development. Well, they're actually not developing the game. They're just making the money off the transactions. It's a stable way of surviving in the gaming industry. That, by the way, games aren't cheap to make. See Star Citizen budget, for example.
The VP of the company, Sandy Gardner, and the wife of Chris Roberts, that she was extremely hostile to employees, used lots of racial epithets, used a lot of inappropriate language in internal memos, and basically berated and belittled her employees constantly.
Now, the funny thing about this is that all those cases have never been proven. Someone who supposedly is this racist or whatever they're claiming, it really is a joke, because Sandy got... I'm going to show you a photo. I might be mispronouncing that. Yeah, I'm pronouncing that wrong. I can't spell at the moment. I'm getting tired. So there she is there, right? Sandy Gardner. Well, why do I write Guardian? God, that's the problem. Right, this is what Sandy looks like. She's mixed race. She's Australian versus something else. I'm not quite sure. Not exactly the Aryan white girl that, they're making her out to sound like, right? She's mixed race, which is fine. I don't have a problem with. I think she's Asian slash Brazilian slash Australian or something like that, right? Here she is here. Do you think that this girl sounds like she's a racist? Considering that these cases against her were never proven, and they were all thrown out of court, and even CIG actually went after the people that were making these claims. They actually talk about it here in a sec. Let's keep going.
She's gonna get that blood test out though, Tony, and that's the important thing.
Theranos reference there.
It's the bad ideas hit parade. They're just all here.
This is sort of something that might not be 100% substantial, because Cloud Imperium was quick to strike back, claiming none of this happened, that it was a smear campaign, and their legal team would make sure the slander was prosecuted. They essentially fake news the article. And I would say this is about 50% true. The Escapist reporter verified that these people had worked there based on an ID card. An ID card that was never issued to any employee at Cloud Imperium.
So you say it's a 50% chance that this is a true case, right? Even though CIG came out and claimed it was fake news, and even then, when asking for evidence, none of it was proven, and the only way that these guys could prove that they even worked at CIG was to hand over an ID card that was not actually used at CIG? And you think all this sounds like it has a 50% accurate chance of being right? I would say probably more like 5%. That would be my guess. Did Sandy probably fling off or get angry at some guy one day when she had a bad day? Probably. Name a boss that hasn't. I don't think she's going through and sending memos through the company's system with racial epithets all through it. So yeah, I think this whole thing was a complete load of crap. I think it was people that tried to smear the game and were trying to drag up anything they could to try and slander the game.
Unfortunately, a lot of the damage had already been done, and it reinforced to many people that Star Citizen would become the most expensive piece of vaporware ever developed.
It does seem like one of those easy targets that if you say, and they're also mistreating their employees, that people are fed up enough where they'd be like, yeah, they are, and you wouldn't actually have to prove it.
Forbes would later go on to interview about 30 former employees, and they all said very similar things about like the work environment just being completely scattered, chaotic, and that the guy who headed this up, Roberts, was completely a micromanager who would reject things over and over and over again. Like, he would ask for revisions, then he would reject the revisions, tell him to roll it back, and then reject the rollback. So it's basically like none of this is getting done because there isn't any sort of decentralized command happening here.
Man.
Now, on that, reportedly since then, that's somewhat accurate. Chris has changed. They've learned. Chris is now taking a backseat role more when it comes to the managing. He now trusts his pillar directors and stuff like that who control this sort of system, so he doesn't have to worry about micromanaging people. And reportedly also, I want to mention that the Forbes article that he's referencing here, which is where they also got the $300 million from, by the way, they also only talk to ex-staff members. They never actually talk to any current staff member from CIG. Boy, if you go and ask a whole bunch of ex-staff members what are bosses like, are you going to find that they're positive, or are they possibly a little bit upset and jaded because they got fired from their job? I wonder what's more likely. You know, like, how many people have worked at CIG in the past 7 years? They only found 30 of them. And some of those 30 had something bad to say. Like, sounds like a real bad work environment.
None of these people, we want to remind you, worked on Duke Nukem forever.
The game continues to promise huge, lofty goals and even hosts its own conventions called CitizenCon. These cons were used to highlight aspects of the roadmap, show new features and ships, and try to keep the donations coming in. Previously...
I don't know if you want to use the word con.
BlizzCon, for example. Con is short for convention, right? That's, BlizzCon, CitizenCon. It's what CitizenCon does. It's basically it's the same as BlizzCon. It's Star Citizen's version of Blizzard. By the way, guys, it's coming up really, really soon. You should check it out. It's a day where all the fans and get to meet the developers. They get to see everything that's coming out for the next year or so. There's presentations, there's giveaways. It's a huge, great big show. It's over in the UK, Manchester this year, but it also will be streamed live on Twitch.
Anything related to this game until it's actually out.
Previously, these had been free to stream events, but in 2018, they tried to charge $20 a person just to watch the event for a game that you cannot really play.
You can play it. I play it on a regular basis. Other people I know play it on a regular basis.
Fan base rebelled. They decided to make it free as per usual. People were just pretty enraged that after spending thousands of dollars on a game, they have yet to see any of these updates implemented.
Yeah, that's actually true. So CIG went to charge people for because they were going to, it's sort of a somewhat accurate statement. CIG were going to go through and actually, or CI actually now, we're going to go through and actually have a professional team who went through, who live streamed the event, who would actually go through and do a professional job of these presentations. And to cover some of the cost, they were going to charge $20 for people to tune in to watch. There was a huge uproar because people were fed up and they didn't want that. And CIG or CI actually turned around and recanted that decision and then put it free. They actually ran through and they paid these guys to run the presentation, but the stream was laggy. It was out of sync. And after about half an hour or so, they switched over Twitch and the rest of the presentation went off live without a hitch. So yeah, even if you want to drag CIG for example, it being out of sync, it wasn't actually their fault. That was actually the performance crew or the crew that was going to come in and it was going to do the presentation. That was their stuff that was actually out of sync and not even CI. And look, yeah, Chris tried to charge $20 for, I think it was $15 actually, to get involved and to watch it. And he listened to the audience and changed his mind. If only Anthem would do the same thing when it comes to fixing their game.
This is essentially the state of the game.
By the way, what does it cost to live stream, for example, E3, Blizzard, whatever it may be? I don't think E3 costs you, but I think Blizzard actually charge you to live stream their event, don't they? Don't they do that, by the way? And no one seems to have any complaints about that.
Today. The article from Forbes said that this is not fraud. Roberts really is working on the game, but it is incompetence and mismanagement on a galactic scale.
The Forbes article also went into personal details about Chris Roberts and his girlfriend at the time, or his current wife now, Sandy, and his ex-wife. They were that desperate for content to try and slam the game, they had to get into the personal relationship of Chris Roberts. And even when they did that, they failed to mention facts that sort of made that whole argument about the personal relationship. They were going on about how Sandy got a restraining order against her from Chris's ex-wife. But what they don't mention is that when it went to court, that court case, that restraining order was thrown out because of lack of evidence against Sandy Gardner, and the ex-wife later had to withdraw the restraining order. It was, the whole thing was tossed out of court. It seemed to me that it was a case of Chris Roberts, his new girlfriend, came over to the house one night when Chris Roberts' ex-wife was there, and the ex-wife might have got a little bit upset, a little bit jealous about the new girlfriend. That's what I figured happened.
The article itself was titled "The Saga of Star Citizen," a video game that raised $300 million but may never be ready to play.
Yeah, I gotta say, in hearing this, I never once did think, I bet they're cheating people.
Yeah, it seems like they're just, they keep throwing more at the wall, and, it's not that they want to cheat people, it's that they just don't know how to finish.
It's just the fact that it's a huge game, and they are taking their time to develop it, and no one has ever made a game on this scale yet. Even Grand Theft Auto 5 is nowhere near the scale that Star Citizen's going to be on. Whether you like that or not, well, that's entirely up to people. Personally, I got to give him credit for having the balls to do this. For having the balls to put it all on the line and to say, we are going to make the goddamn best space sim ever. There have been people that have literally said that when this game is released, they will most likely never, ever play another video game ever again. This will be the game that they play until they die. It might take that long for it to come out. And look, if you want to drag Chris for taking a long time, then that's a discussion we can have. But let's be honest, it's not like it's a typical, standard 32-point float precision COD map. It's not. It's a standard game, right? It's a MMO RPG that literally has hundreds of systems all around the world, all around the planets.
It's not malice, it's incompetence.
Yes.
No, it's just that no one has ever done a game like this, and no one will ever most likely make a game like this. This game is huge when it comes to scope, and no one will most likely be able to pull this off ever again.
It cites many different things that are flat out incomplete. They promised 100 star systems at launch, but have yet to entirely complete a single one.
So that's actually not... that's a little bit of a misnomer. I think I'm using that word right there. That's actually wrong. So they haven't completed the Stanton system that we're currently in at the moment, but they have worked on other systems for Squadron 42. For example, Lyria, right? We got a new map that came out to Star Marine. It's coming out in 3.7 patch, and that will actually go through, and that's based on Lyria 2. So there are other systems that have been developed that are needed for Squadron 42, and they will be available once Squadron 42 is released. They just simply aren't releasing them at the moment because they don't want to ruin Squadron 42. But they have been done. They are in the background there somewhere. We just can't access them. As for Stanton, we are getting up to the last 2 locations now, which is Crusader and Microtech. And once those 2 have done, they have the vast majority of biodomes that they needed, which is why they have picked Stanton as the starting place. Because Stanton has a lot of the biodomes that they needed. Hurston, for example, has 7 biodomes on that one planet alone. Once they've gone through and they've done those biodomes, they can then reuse those biodomes to go through, and they can reuse them for different planets. So instead of taking a year or 2 years to build Stanton, they can then knock out Nyx, for example, like that. They can knock out Pyro like that, for example. Like, for example, Pyro, the one thing that they don't have is a lava planet, right? Because it's not one in Stanton system. But apart from that, all the other biodomes have already been done because they've done them in Stanton. So once they get that Stanton system finished, it's then a case of basically going reuse, 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 and they can just knock out all the systems and get them done at a very fast rate.
They have sold over 135 different varieties of ships, but only around 85 are actually in the game.
I think
the
it's
FTC
87.
is now fielding hundreds of complaints asking for refunds, and some...
It was 135 complaints that they had out of over 1 million people that have backed this game. Out of 1 million people, they've had about 135 complaints, and those complaints are actually going back several years. I don't even know how many of those have been recent, actually, to be honest. Like, how many people complained about Anthem? How many people wanted a refund on Anthem, for example?
Some of these singular complaints are running up to $24,000 of people buying ships. The article goes on to detail that the company is currently spending about $30 million per year on personnel alone, not covering their massive marketing efforts and other outsourced activities.
There is no real massive marketing effort. I don't know what you're talking about here either. Jesus Christ, you get You get so much wrong in this video, don't you? Yeah, at the end of the day, the fact is that they don't have any... The game itself is the marketing asset, right? They have $45 million that they're going to use for marketing of Squadron 42, but they haven't even really started pushing that yet. There's very little marketing that is actually done in this game. The $30 million a year to run the business is what I think it is mostly to run it. It's, yeah, the vast majority goes in devs, but, you know, they've got 530-something employees too. By the way, if you're wondering how much Chris Roberts gets paid, because this is something people keep going on about, the average employee at CIG is getting paid $1,000 a week. If that's the case, CIG is not paying Chris a lot. Because otherwise, like the standard dev, you're talking about what, $600 to $800 a week. So for it to average out to $1,000 a week, they're not really paying their directors that much. We think we roughly worked out that Chris is getting paid. He's getting paid roughly around $300,000 from what I can tell a year, which is not a lot considering some of these other devs, these other directors.
So they're kind of hemorrhaging money right now.
They're spending money, I would say. But they're also making a whole fistful of it also. Star Citizen over the past 12 months has made over $40 million. So if you have to spend $30 million to make $40 million, it's not a bad profit.
Also, while we're on the subject of like the ships, there's a lot of people that right now still think that there will be a gray market where if you buy these special edition ships, eventually they're going to be worth more than the money that you paid for them. So they're kind of expecting appreciation on the value of them. They're calling it the gray market, where they'll be able to sell them on eBay for over like $1,000 or things like that.
So on that actually does exist. It's actually a real thing. I showed you this example earlier, but a Bennett Merchantman for $295, and when it went up for sale, it was $250. Now, even if he went through and brought it around here on War Bond 6 months ago, on a year ago, it was $300, and he would have got a discount because he has the 10%, so he would have got $30 off. So it would have been $270. So even at the very worst case, he's still going to be making profit. But I guarantee you, if we were to message this guy here and ask him how long he has that ship, considering it's limited and LTI items, I am guessing the LTI was from back in 2013. Or at least, yeah. That's what I reckon he's done it. He's brought it somewhere around here, where he's brought it for $250 minus any discount he's also got, 10% off that. So he's probably spent about $220 on it, and he's now selling it for $295. So he's going to make $70 off that one ship. And God knows how many of them he brought. So the grey market, this is the grey market here. It does actually exist. It is a real thing. And it is actually up and running. And people are making money off it right now.
For basically just special edition ships, there's also a weird cottage YouTube industry where people will go out and buy these ships and do very, very detailed tours of them, like 45 minutes to an hour just touring some of these ships and showing you all the different levels. Like I was looking at one that was like an 85-minute video on the new $3,000 yacht that has like a complete spa, has like all the crew quarters, has just hundreds.
There is no $3,000 new ship. The ship that you're talking about, I presume, is the 890 Jump. It's $890. It's not even $1,000. Where are you getting this $3,000 from? God, for sake, man, do your research before you go making these videos, because you just sound like you don't know anything you're talking about. And I'm not assuming it's malice. I'm just assuming that he just really didn't do any research.
Hundreds of features. And like that attention to detail is amazing, but once again, you'll never get to use it.
And I want to remind everyone.
By the way, the 890 Jump that you will never get to use, that is literally this ship. Actually, it's not that ship, sorry. It is this ship.
Why are you watching videos when you...
Stupid YouTube ads. So when he turns around and says, that ship that you'll never get to use, here are people here right now using that ship. Why won't you get to use that ship? People are doing it right now. There's a video that was put up on the 22nd of September of people actually doing that right now. Why won't you get to use it? Here they are, right now, using it. But anyway.
This all started with the Kickstarter aiming to get $500,000.
And now that they're 600 times their goal, it still has not come out.
Do you think it would have come out by now if they just gotten the 500,000?
If they'd just gotten 500,000 to like maybe $1 million, I think that they would have put something out, and we might have gotten a bare bones fun thing to play. But the thing is,
But that's the thing, is that the scope changed. They, like I said earlier, Chris Roberts went through and actually asked people, do you want to change the scope of CIG or Star Citizen? 86, I believe it was 86% said yes. Because of the fact they had raised all these funds. The community wanted it. They did not say no. 86% said yes.
There are other games like this, like Elite Dangerous is probably as close as we're going to get to this. And
Elite Dangerous is still in development now. They're still putting out add-ons and patches to their game. September, they just literally put out a new patch. And guess what? There's a rumor that Elite Dangerous will be adding space legs. Sounds like Star Citizen to me. But yeah, but apparently that's going to take him 2 years to make that. So, yeah. And to be honest, I reckon that 2 years is probably going to be very optimistic, because I think they're going to have a lot more problems than they think.
They had some issues with their launch, not as much as No Man's Sky, but that's a game that people really enjoy. Although I hear that the learning curve at the very beginning is even harder than Star Citizen. Like,
and I'll tell you now, also, there are more people that watch Star Citizen than they watch Elite Dangerous. I don't know if I've got... No, I don't. Let me open Twitch. I can show you guys right now. Right, Star Citizen... 839 viewers. $194 people watching Elite Dangerous right now. Right there. Star Citizen, 839. Although Rexzilla is actually up and running at the moment. He's got 400. But I've seen people with thousands of people playing Star Citizen. Like, HC Vertigo is a normal Star Citizen streamer. 100 viewers right now watching him. He almost has as many people watching him play Star Citizen as Elite Dangerous has what total people watching. So, probably not a real good example if you're sitting there claiming that, that, for example,
it takes a while. Like, a lot of people don't even figure out how to get their ship out of the station before they give up on the game.
Yowza.
But the overall game, like, once you actually learn all this, is supposed to be fun. Sometimes I think these star simulators don't realize that you just need to be able to hop in your ship and go and have some fun. Like, that's what No Man's Sky did that pretty well. You hit E and all of a sudden you're, like, in your ship and going.
But that's what Arena Commander is. Arena Commander is you spawn in the ship and you go through and you do some dogfighting. It's the flight model where you can go through and practice your flying. If you want to do that, you play Arena Commander. If you want to go through and play the MMO, RPG, Persistent Universe, you click on Universe. There is the two different game modes for depending on what people want to do.
I think the cockpit navigation thing will take off if VR becomes widespread. That's
well,
a
that
place
is one
where
of the things that they did put that star, like they, one of the first things they did is like, this will be fully VR capable. Like, we already partnered with Oculus and all this, and that was in 2012. So another thing
it's
that
a
they have
good
to figure
idea
out.
because if you
Yes.
can actually reach down and flick switches and there's something like a tactile feedback to where things are on your console in virtual space compared to what you want to do. I think that's a lot better than having to click around or even have buttons to push on your keyboard. But it remains to be seen if VR will catch on like that.
Yeah. And the new VR like Quest system and a lot of other cool stuff makes me think that VR is getting closer. I don't know if it's ever going to really take off, but we're at a point where it's at a tipping point where it might. Especially
There was one guy, very quick story, one guy who decided to put on a VR headset and play Star Citizen, and reportedly when he was looking out of Port Al-Azhar and he was overlooking Stanton and looking outside the space window, he started crying because it was so beautiful. Just to give you an idea of how beautiful this game really is, especially in VR, it's enough to literally make a grown man cry because it looks so goddamn beautiful.
because there's some really fun games coming out for it.
Prediction right now, the next Nintendo system that's a fully new system is just going to be VR.
It sounds like Apple has funded a bunch of patents on like an AR system that's going to get people closer to that, like a Google Glass type system. So we'll see if that has any influence on making this stuff become more of a reality.
Could be.
At this point, we're in a situation where weekly videos consist mostly of devs dodging questions about the current status of the game.
I just wanted to fast forward that because they're talking about other shit and it's already going for way too long.
And tacking more features on.
Devs dodging question. You obviously haven't seen the last three of them. The last three, where the devs have sat down and answered questions, have actually been really, really, really good. Where they have actually answered them. Look, dodging questions. Yeah, they dodge some questions, yes, because they don't know what they're doing at the moment when it comes to certain things. People, it's the problem with the Star Citizen community. We are both our own worst enemy and our own best friends. You will literally get people who will ask the devs questions like, for example, I have a spar in my 890 jump, or my Constellation, for example. If I turn the gravity off, will the water float? Not shitting you, an actual question was that asked. And that sort of stuff is where the devs are like, we don't know that at the moment. We are more worried about getting the game out than putting in floating water, for example. And look, at the end of the day, when they know the question and they know the answer, they will answer it. And sometimes if they don't know what's happening with a feature because they are working on it and they don't want to qualify or they don't want to answer the question at the moment because they are still currently working on it, then they will dodge the question. Sure.
Stories of massive micromanagement have caused revision after revision after revision to harken back to the issues that plagued Duke Nukem Forever. We've already seen engine and UI changes that have caused delays, and the longer the game sits, the more
they didn't. No, they changing from CryEngine to Lumberyard was the same engine. It was just rebranded. It was renamed. It was all it was. Amazon paid CryEngine to actually go through and to give them their existing engine.
likely they are going to be facing doing this again just to keep up with modern technology.
Trust me, the way the game looks at the moment, and I'm just going to play this for you guys right here. The way this game plays at the moment, I don't think they have to worry about game graphics ever being low or boring or anything like that, even after 5 or 10 years. And that's one of the best things when it comes to, for example, the game engine with Lumberyard, is that they can just keep adding more and more graphics filters and stuff like that on top of it to improve the graphics. If you go back and look at, for example, Lumberyard when it first was used compared to now, the graphics difference is huge. It really, really is. And they just keep improving the graphics as much as they can. I'm not really worried about the technology getting to a point where the graphics are going to be obsolete.
The game itself plays like a B-rated game with hilarious bugs and a community that shifts between ravenously defensive and trolling that seems to celebrate every delay, misstep, and mistake Cloud Imperium makes.
Oh, there is a lot of trolling. Yes. You are literally talking about a community that, when found out that they were getting space tractors or tow trucks in for spaceships, wanted to know if they would actually be able to use those tractor beams to move an asteroid because they wanted to play soccer between the rings of Port Alizar. And then actually designed a game mode where they could actually do that, using the tractor beams on the ship and an asteroid, and then having teams of tractor ships to capture the asteroid, and it was pretty funny. If you ever want to know about trolling, look up I think it was CIG creating a space monster, space whale. Yeah, there's a lot of trolling that goes on.
And I can kind of understand like the cost sunk fallacy that some of these people probably have for the game, but there's also people that have made a lot of investment that absolutely despise the game now.
I can definitely see the people who are just enjoying how terribly this is going. There are I can enjoy some of that.
It's not the fact that they're enjoying how terrible that it's going. It's just that they are having fun. And this is the argument that you've tried to make. You tried to make that this game sucks, right? That it's boring, that it's not fun to play. Yet you have a community that has fun playing the game to the point where they are trolling people about it. Kind of shooting your own argument down here, aren't you?
My own life from time to time. Just thinking like, well, this thing is falling apart. Let's see how that goes.
There is something hilarious about stepping out of a ship and watching it clip into a rock and then launch your ship 500 miles into the air and watching it explode while you're stranded on a planet.
Yeah.
I've never seen that happen, but that would be funny to watch.
If only if that was on purpose, it'd be better, I guess. I mean, not that it would be broken, but you can just play Just Cause.
Yeah. There's some very interesting things with the world that I've liked so far too. Like, you'll see poor NPCs that don't have really good spaceships, where they literally have like a weird bag respirator over their head and in crummy parts of cities and things like that. It's like they're trying so hard but can't get it out.
All right.
From the outside, it seems like this game will go on to be the biggest bad idea.
They can get it out. They are getting it out. They're getting it out every 3 months. There's a new patch. I've literally shown you the roadmap. Here it is here. This patch is in Evocati right now, and we are expecting it to go to Wave 1, which is me and the rest of some of the other community, probably the end of this week, and then most likely go to wider PTU early next week or late next week. And this is what it's bringing in now. FPS mining, harvestable, caves, ship rentals, a new landing system, different ships, different ship weapons, performance optimizations. So, yeah.
Idea in video game history. Debacles like those seen in No Man's Sky have been fixed and now have a thriving player base. Star Citizen seems to be on
No Man's Sky, thriving player base, maybe.
A never-ending mess that will hemorrhage money until it can no longer sell $3,000 ships to cover their overhead.
It's only a one ship that is even close to $3,000. It's one ship that was $3,000. It was 2.5 when it was first came out, and then that hasn't gone up for sale for at least 12 months, and possibly even longer.
At this point, it will most likely be sold off to the highest bid.
Out of 137 whatever ships, one of them is $3,000. And they keep going on about that. What about the other ships? Like the Arrow, like the ship that you see here, right? This ship here, that's an Arrow. That is available in out of game with real world currency for, I think it's about $60 or $80 or something like that. I think it is, US. You get 45 when you buy the game, and you can upgrade it to the Arrow for about 20 or 30 bucks. I think it is. And that gives you a fighter jet, which is really cool. But I wouldn't suggest buying that if you're going to buy your first ship. I would suggest the Avenger Titan.
Or simply.
Do you have any questions regarding Star Citizen and how to get involved and what to do and all that? Feel free to hit me up. I can tell you the good side, the bad side. I can give you a non-partisan view of the game as much as I can. And yeah, I do it on a quite regular basis to help new players out.
Vanish. A shadow of what could have been. People have wanted this since they got into spreadsheet simulators like EVE Online. They wanted that deeper, comprehensive game. And I don't think Star Citizen is going to be the one to do this, unfortunately.
Oh, trust me, you have not seen the spreadsheets for Star Citizen. We literally had to make calculators that would literally work out shipping lanes and stuff like that for people because they wanted to work out, the spreadsheets on EVE are impressive, and Star Citizen is certainly starting to rival some of them.
I truly hope that in a year or two from now, I can post an apology podcast about how sometimes an idea just takes longer. But
You won't do that. I'll tell you now, even if this game comes out, and even if you play this game and you are completely happy with this game, you will not make that video. Okay, maybe not. Maybe you will. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you will. But the vast majority of people in the games industry won't. Because at the end of the day, they are only chasing clicks. They are chasing views. And that's all it is. That Forbes article was all about views, getting clicks. That's all it was. It was a way to get money so that they can turn around and say to the advertisers, look at this, we had 30,000 clicks on this website this month. We want you to pay us extra amount to charge on our website.
Years into development, not even a simple end in sight, have me doubting that Star Citizen will ever turn that corner.
And I think that's all we've got for today, Tony.
Oh, I want to give a special shout out to our friend Phallic from Mixer and on Twitch and our YouTube channel, who gave me an $85 ship from like whenever he bought a bunch of ships and was planning to use them as giveaways. And then it never materialized that he could ever like really stream it because they never released the game. So I have gotten to play this, and I just want to say thank you for letting me try it out without having to drop any of my own cash. That was awesome of you, so thank you, Phallic. And
the $85 ship, I'm thinking, is maybe the Avenger Titan or maybe the Freelancer. I'm not quite sure.
Also, if you enjoyed this, check out our Patreon at patreon.com.
Anyway, that's it. Yeah, we're not going to get into your own promo and advertisings. Now, very quickly, let's jump into the comments because we want to wrap this video up. Correction, Tony said ships could cost up to $3,000. This is incorrect. The most expensive ship is the Javelin, which is $2,500 and was original pledge of $3,000. You actually got that wrong. It's the other way around. The original pledge was $2,500 and the latest cost was, believe it to be, $3,000. So even in your correction, you managed to still get that wrong. While certainly you could make a case against Star Citizen, 7 minutes in, and the information provided so many inaccuracies, and I had to label watching this video a bad idea. 3 people agreed with him, by the way, on that. They said, yeah, can you detail them? Spend quite a bit of time reading on this one. He responded, bad ideas. The first of all, play instead of reading, which is what I've been saying this whole time. You stated wrongly by saying there was a new $3,000 ship, which is false. In fact, I don't even think the Javelin cost that much, which is then why they went through and changed it a week later. After they've been corrected, obviously they've been called out in the comments. You told your co-host that it would drive him crazy because there's no hotkeys. There have been hotkeys in the game as long as I can remember, even for the cockpit inner thought menu, which you couldn't even name to your co-host. You made it sound like the game is only in Star Marine and Arena Commander. There's a lot more to do. It was clear to me that you haven't played since probably 2014 or so. You even admit that you hadn't. You even admit you didn't have a lot of time when you did. Shoddy video game journalism. Stop being lazy and play the game correctly. Currently, if you would like to do a piece on it, which is what I've also been saying. There's a lot that can be said negative about the management of the project prior to 2008. You have some good points. This has gotten better now, but you could still point out the flaws that probably could be correct. Do your audience a favor and do some actual hands-on research. Not, I read other lazy journalists wrote that were misinformed. So then they've actually responded. Looking it up again, you are correct on the Javelin being $2,500 real US dollars. I amended that in the future episode. I was also gifted the game in 2008, so I never got to see its status before then. When I played a few weeks ago, I had 4 crashes before getting to my ship out, so I didn't find out more about the hotkeys before giving up. Sounds like he didn't even get out of Port Al-Azhar before he just gave up and didn't play the game. You know, great journalism you've done there, mate. It was also brought up by several other players, other Let's Players, which watched several other Let's Plays I watched, that the zoom and click function was non-intuitive and dumb, so I wasn't alone there. But that's not what you're saying, is it? You were saying that there's no hotkeys, which is flat out incorrect. I sincerely hope you find a place for your betterness. It's funny, I was thinking the same about you. I think your desire to love a game that will never be released, making you lash out. Sounding like you got a bit butthurt there with someone calling you out. But anyway. Someone else tried to attack him for only having 200 subs, but I think that's a little bit... I don't agree with that, but anyway. But yeah, so they even got called out in their own comments for actually putting up a bad video. Look, guys, obviously don't go and harass these guys. Obviously you know the name of the company, the YouTube channel. It's there. Don't harass them, alright? I don't want that. And it makes the Star Citizen community look bad. I don't have a problem with them doing these videos or anything like that. This is not me getting butthurt or anything over them making these videos. I just simply wanted to correct the record because it's people like this who put out these sort of videos that misinform people about the true state of the game because, like he said, they crashed the game a few times and then they just got fed up playing it. Sounds like he didn't even really leave Port Alizar much. Maybe instead of watching Let's Plays, maybe you should actually go through and play the game. That would be my suggestion. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I apologise for this video being so long. This is the third time I've had to do it too, so feel sorry for me. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it was important to go through and to correct this because this was just a very bad idea. This whole video was terrible. It really, really was. Lazy journalism, lazy people trying to get some clicks to the website, reading a Forbes article, not doing their own research, or not at least much of it anyway. One of them never played it. One of them only played it for a little bit and then gave up and apparently watched Let's Plays. Yeah, so yeah, there's that happened. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If you have any other suggestions of other people that have done terrible videos, let me know on Discord or hit me up in Twitter or whatever it may be. I do the response every time I find them just because I want to correct the record. And I want Star Citizen to get a fair go when it comes to being an honest and open review. I might even do my own review. How's that for an idea? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I will see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.